What's up, guys? So now it's Sunday, still working on the Supra. Gonna put the clutch in. I run an ACT clutch. So let's pull this clutch out of the box. ACT even sends ARP hardware to install your flywheel. It's great. You could use OEM, but this is better, stronger. ARP pretty much has the best hardware on the planet, so of course ACT would want to do a collab with them and send that. Okay, so this is the clutch I run. It's a triple disc ACT with a 26 spline for GM style transmission, or in my case the Samsonus utilizes a 26 spline. You could ask for a different spline count on the Samsonus, but that's a good spline count. It can take, you know, a lot of horsepower. It's not gonna slip. It has 26 splines. So that's what I run. This will also work with a GSR trans, which is also a 26 spline. So it's kind of interchangeable in that sense. This clutch is rated for 1,100 foot-pounds of torque. They also make one that's higher, like 1,400 and maybe 50 foot-pounds of torque. I don't make that much torque. I just have a 2J with a smaller turbo, so I'm only at 900 horsepower, like 770 torque, so we're okay on that. And I've never ever had an issue with this clutch. I've been running it for 3 years. We get them rebuilt, obviously, because you slip the clutch a lot in drifting, but I love this clutch, the feel of it, and then how it performs. The pedal feel is real moderate. It's not anything too crazy, and it can take all the abuse and the heat that we throw at it with drifting. So this is pretty much my favorite clutch I ever drove. Okay, so I'm gonna cut this plastic out, get out of here, take it apart from pressure plate and all the triple discs that I run, and so I just have the flywheel in hand, and then we'll go install the flywheel onto the motor, which is gonna happen right here. We're gonna get some red Loctite, and then we're gonna torque these down as we do it onto the crank, and then we'll install the clutch with extra input shaft from a GSR that I have that I use as my clutch alignment tool. Better than using plastic, it's metal. And then we can put the transmission in. All right, let's get started. Triple disc. This rubber band is used to hold these side spacers. Well, these aren't spacers. These just are like alignment pins, I guess. But they have a thinner shoulder here than here, so you always need to have the thick shoulder down towards the flywheel. But I've done this clutch enough times that I'll like just kind of remember everything. But if it's your first time with this clutch, it'd be real easy to take this rubber band off with all the excitement of opening it up, and then you forget that like some of these fall off, or all of them do, and then you have to realign all the discs and the sliders and so yep, learned that the hard way probably the first 2 times, and I had to call ACT and be like, okay, wait a minute, wait, but now I got it down. After the first year I had it down, but just kind of letting you guys know if you ever get one of these clutches. They make this clutch for many different applications. They just either have a different flywheel that it goes onto, or they spline it different for different input shafts. So you guys could always utilize one of these if you get the opportunity and you have that much horsepower. You should definitely look into one of these clutches. And you could always hit me up. We sell this one on our website. Sold a couple of these to other JZ customers, but then we've sold many other clutches for other customers at the shop, and we could help you out, so let us know. Okay, let's install this. What I think I was gonna do is just kind of bring this cable under the car so you guys can hang out with us in there while I install it. I'm just gonna start by installing one of these and the flywheel onto the crank. Hand tight. So it calls for 75 foot-pounds. Stock on a JZ. So I'm gonna do 80. Been doing 80 always. I like to do 80 foot-pounds. We have better hardware. Can easily go over the torque spec, and we have way more horsepower. Just go 5 pounds over. I don't even think you would need to. You could still do 75 and you'd be fine, but I'm gonna do 80. So that's what I like to do. And it doesn't hurt. So first, this gun doesn't go that high, so first I'll kind of slowly go around with the gun. I need to get a 12 point though. There's only a 6 point, so I'm gonna grab a 12 point socket. It's a 1/2 inch. It's not metric, but ACT is an American company, so they do 1/2 inch, and then so is ARP. Hold on one second. Okay, so I hit it twice with the gun clicking. So that's around 50 foot-pounds now. Now let's go back and get it to 75, 80. But like I said, we're gonna do 80, so let's just take it to 80. Okay, went around, double checked everything. Let me show you how I did this, you guys. So, the JZ bell housing is held in partially on the back of the oil pan here. You never want to brace on that because it's aluminum. So then you go past right here, which that's part of the iron block, all the way around there. So any of those bolts you could use as a bracing one, like I did with this bell housing bolt. And then I took a small wrench and I just let it hit. So as it's turning, it just stops when it hits that, and it's not gonna dent anything, it's not gonna hurt anything. It just kind of braces itself there, and then it allows you to use that as your second person instead of having another guy here. I was able to just brace it like that. They make tools for this, I just don't own one, so this is like another trick you can do. Now let's install the pressure plate and all the discs. Alright. Okay, so it says transmission side on each disc. This one has transmission side inscribed on both sides. Let me show you guys. This side is blacked out, but see how it says transmission side? Like, even though they blacked it out, you could, come on. Kind of see it, maybe, yeah. And then, if we were to, hold on. This is one of those 3-arm moments. Dang it, setting it back down. Okay. If we were to slip it off, this side also says transmission side, but it's not blacked out. And then you flip it over, transmission side. But see how it has this shoulder here? That can't go the way that we had it, so the way that they had it was right, is what I'm trying to say. So anyways, that's that. does this sometimes. So the bolts don't ride so smooth in there, and then you gotta go push it past like the friction point there, and it's just hard because you almost have to like tap this in with a hammer to get it past where the shoulder is on the end of the bolt, because there's like the no thread part and it doesn't want to go in. So, and when you push the socket on really hard, there's nothing, like the socket will just slip over it deeper and it's not pushing on it. So let me grab something I can tap it in. Another key thing you gotta do when setting up a multi-disc clutch is, well, any clutch, but it gets crazier with a multi-disc clutch, is the alignment tool, or in my case this extra input shaft, needs to be dead lined up with like the center of where the pressure plate fingers are. Because if you have it like, you know, tilted back or up, you'll never get your transmission in as you go to slip it in. It's just gonna fight you, and it might only go into the first disc and then kind of be binding, and you're trying to line up the bolts on the bell housing. What's going on? And that's what's going on. So what we do is lower the car down enough, you know, or if it's out of the car on like a stand, well, not a motor stand, but you can't put a clutch on when it's on a motor stand, but like say you're holding it up with a forklift or those other stands I have, we'll kind of line it up, like stare at it, and it's not, doesn't have to be perfect, but visually like almost perfect center, you know, that you can see with your eyes. So that's what I'm doing right now. Because as soon as you start tightening the pressure plate and the discs start to tighten down, you're not going to be able to move that input at all. So it needs to be nice and lined up before you tighten anything down. Okay, so that's set at 30. Always remember to put your torque wrench back to 0 when you're done. Otherwise it will not read properly next time you want to use it. Car's way too low to be working under, but I just needed to be lined up so I could see that. Okay, so now if everything's lined up right, this should slide in and out effortlessly, which it does. So that means all 3 discs are lined up. Let's hope that they're centered as close as I can get it, so that when it's time to put the transmission in, won't be that hard. It's gonna be hard because I'm by myself today, so we'll see how it goes. But I can do it, done it before. Alright, so that's in. Now I'm gonna go over and get my bell housing set up and my quick release clutch line set up with a fresh Tilton slave. You guys kind of saw when I was prepping it. I think I was videoing it for you guys. So it was the this new bell housing. Cleaned it, then I drilled extra holes in it so that it can let some heat out. See how it goes. This is the driver's side of the car, so I have 2 holes here for my clutch line to go out of. This big hole in the bottom is an inspection hole. Everyone with a race car needs that, so you can go check on, you can look in there and look at your disc and see the discoloration, and then also as you're setting up your slave cylinder and like bleeding it, you want to see like the movement and measure the movement. In my case, I don't need to measure anything. I kind of have this setup dialed in, but like when you set up a new stuff, you're gonna need to be able to do that. And then these holes here are in hopes that it keeps everything colder. I don't know. It's just, we'll see how it goes, because I get the clutch really hot. You slip clutches when you're drifting, so let's see how it goes. So this is last year's slave. Not gonna run the same slave. I'm gonna run the same lines. This is my quick release disconnect that I was telling you guys about. It's a Stoli one, Stoley's like what guys in NASCAR use on their stuff, or IndyCar guys. That's the only really nice Stoley fitting I have, but it's the only hydraulic quick release. But I think these are like $300 and some, so pretty like expensive little guy there. But I only needed one, so we're okay. Here's my fresh Tilton hydraulic. So I need to install that in here like this, into this Collins adapter plate that they made. It's top notch, excited about this first year with it. So I need to put these two -3 to -3 AN fittings, these male fittings in. So I'm gonna do that right now. I'm gonna transfer over these two lines, and then I'm gonna connect my little P-clamp down at the bottom down there for my bleeder, so it's part of the bell housing. And then well, first I need to find the hardware that was holding this guy in. Seems like I lost it. Oh, anyways, I'll get that new one, or either way. Gotta figure this out real quick here, then go back over there with you guys, install it in the car. So let me get this set up, and then we'll go back over there. I'll bolt the bell housing in. Then you can watch me struggle and try and put this transmission in all by myself. Maybe I'll use a table or some stands or a jack. Maybe I'll just try and muscle it in, we'll see. All right, okay, so focus. Okay, there we go. We got this all mounted in here. We even topped it off with some ARP hardware. Got the M6 ARP hardware holding in the Tilton slave. And then we got all our lines in place. Coming out here, the bleeder is attached to the bell housing and tapped to the side of the bell housing, and that just stays put. It helps us, if you have to rebleed the clutch, it's like just jack the car up, leave this there, and you on off, and you don't even have to remove any of that. This kind of tucks up along the edge of the frame rail, like not that drastic of a loop, but it kind of bends a little bit like that out of the way, kind of near the other fuel lines and coolant lines there. And now I'm gonna go install the bell housing, because the whole idea of this Collins adapter was to just utilize one solid mounted bell housing and adapter, so that when we go to pull the trans out, all you do is unbolt the through bolts from here that go into the adapter plate. And in the previous one that Samsonis had sent was like, had a hole, and they wanted this black piece here to be bolted to the nose of the trans, which would bolt right here, which that's cool. But if you're removing your transmission multiple times a season and you have lines connected to it, it doesn't work, and you just make a big mess, and you're slipping the lines out of the bell housing, and it just didn't work. And I don't know why they sent it that way. So I had welded this crazy piece of aluminum onto their anodized thing and machined this down because they made it for the wrong height, even though I sent them measurements. Kind of frustrating, but cool thing is Collins adapters to the rescue, and we figured out a plan and we made it happen. Here it is with the collab little etching in there, the Collins with rad back here. You guys can see it there. So Brett over at Collins Adapters knocked this one out, and it works perfect. So now we're gonna go install that, and we'll see how everything comes together. So let's head back over to the car. So we are back under the car. I'm gonna grab the bell housing bolts and the starter. The starter is never easy to put in on my car because I have coolant lines and fuel lines running right there, but comparing it to a V8 with headers and everything, it's still easy, but not like a normal JZ would be easy, because I gotta fish it back under like here. Let's get started on that, but that's what I gotta do. And then put the bell housing in, connect the clutch line, and then we'll grab the transmission and see how crazy that's gonna be to install by myself. Alright guys, this is not gonna be easy. I don't know if I can even do it, but let's see what happens. I'm trying to lift this guy up. balance it on here, and then raise it just enough. By yourself, but you can see the last disc exciting. So the last disc, and then on top of the disc is the pilot parent with the input shaft, and it always fights a little bit because it's heavy. The motor rocks a little bit back and forth, but with one person instead of 2 or 3 people, it's way harder. Alright, well, I'm gonna keep working on it and I'll show you when it's in. Okay, guys? Ooh, hey guys. Okay. It's in and it's tight. And I like it. Collins adapters killed it on this one. And now I'm gonna put the trans mount in and connect my shift linkage up to the shifter here. Plug in strain gauge so you can do flat foot shifting. Plug in this for this is for gear indicator. Plug this in, it's shift lockout for reverse, and then figure out where I'm gonna route this vent. This is the trans vent, so when you're up in like 5th gear riding the limiter and you got a lot of wheel speed, it's gonna spit some fluid around in the side of the transmission, and some of it's gonna come out because there's more pressure then. So it always drips a little bit. Okay, so I know you guys are wondering, why did I just install transmission by myself? And you're like, oh, like, he's so lucky. He's got such nice parts for a Supra and all this stuff. Dang it, it's bright right now. Okay, so yeah, they're nice parts and it's cool and I get to do pro drifting, but I'm still the one building my car. It's not like, I mean, I get help when people help me, but I can't afford to pay someone to help me work on my car. It's pretty much you know, conglomeration of a bunch of people, you know, sponsoring and volunteering their time. Like the guys you see help are usually just helping me because they're you know, they see the struggle and they want to help. Today's Sunday. I need to keep crunching on my car. I have to be at the dyno on the 12th, and today's the 3rd, I think. So the 4th. Today's the 4th. So I have 8 days to get the car done and running, and a lot of new parts that have to be switched, and parts that sponsors want me to utilize this year to help promote that I wasn't using last year. So that means changes, and changes take time, and I just gotta plug away and make this happen. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm here by myself. It's fine. It's just how it's gonna be until maybe you got that big title sponsor ride and you could afford it, but then even then it's still like, you guys see Chris Forsberg and Ryan Turk working on their own cars. It's just how drifting is. It's not like, you know, as glamorous as you think, but it's a ton of fun. So that's why we do this. It's all for the love of the sport. Okay, I gotta get back to it. So I'm gonna put the drive shaft and all the trans mounts in and like everything like that, and then I'll show you guys finished product, and then I'm gonna be up top working on the other stuff up top. I might even throw the exhaust in, because once I plug everything in down here, we're kind of done underneath the car. Maybe there's some other things, but most of all, we're done underneath the center of the car. We gotta switch coilovers and brakes still, but that you can do different time. Okay guys, gotta get back to it. All right. Where were you guys when I did all the work? Oh, okay, you were waiting. Well, look, it's in. It's all in and clean and shiny and nice. beginning of the race season, everything looks new, or sometimes it is new. So this is all in, nice and sealed up tight, everything lined up good. It worked good, it's just hard getting it in by myself, but I did it. This is all plugged in, so I have the gear indicator. I just cut the vent right here, so it could drip a little bit, but me and Joe will kind of know if we see a little bit of oil there, we know it's from the vent, from the trans. Here's the rest of the wires going in here. Cable for the lockout for reverse, and then this is for that same shift indicator one, this braided one is, and then this just plain black one is for the strain gauge, which is this guy up here, and that senses pressure when you go to push forward or backward. And it seems like everything's close to the spinning parts, but that's kind of how it is. Didn't mess up last year. Put the drive shaft in with these new 1350 clamps. When I say 1350, I'm talking about the yoke. The flange here is a 1350, so 1310 is a smaller one, and then 1350, then bigger trucks and stuff like diesels will have even larger ones. I don't know all the sizes and all the numbers for them, but I know 1350 because I use that one. Drive shaft shop axles are in. We already went over that the other night. So last thing I'm gonna put in is the exhaust. So I'll put that in, I'm gonna lower the car down and work on some wastegate stuff. And I'm gonna show you guys a couple cool new products from Drift Motion. It's a really innovative setup that he did, and then it goes hand in hand with a Turbo Smart product that maybe you guys have heard of, some of you guys have, but you maybe didn't understand how it worked. And so I'm gonna kind of go over all that and then tell you why I'm using it on my pro race car. But it's not just for a pro race car, it's ideal for any turbo application. I'm gonna show you why here in a second.